I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we're reading from the book of Judges, chapter 17, so let's focus on verses 1 through 3. There was a man from the hill country of Ephraim named Micah, and he said to his mother, "The 1,100 pieces taken from you that I have heard you utter a curse about, here, I have the silver with me. I took it, and now I return it to you." And his mother said, "May the Lord bless you, my son," as he restored the 1,100 pieces of silver to his mother. And then his mother said, "I solemnly dedicate this money of mine to the Lord, in order for my son to make a carved image overlaid with silver. So I'm giving it back to you." Wow. Chronologically, the story of Samson in Judges 13 all the way through chapter 16 occurs after the events of Judges 17 and 18, because the Bible's not in chronological order. So as I mentioned yesterday, the story of Samson is the story of a real man's exploits, as well as a metaphor for Israel's idolatry and their spiritual adultery. Samson was from the tribe of Dan, and the tribe of Dan's moral decline begins with the woman of Ephraim's worship confusion. She dedicates 1,100 pieces of silver to make an image and other objects for her son to worship the Lord. She doesn't say, "Don't worship the Lord, worship idols." She just says, make idols and worship them as you're worshiping the Lord. That is, worship the Lord through these idols. And interestingly, the pinnacle of Samson's moral and physical and spiritual decline is when Delilah sells Samson to the Philistines. Are we ready? For 1,100 pieces of silver. In the person of Samson, God is sending a profound message to Dan and to all of Israel and to all of us as well. Serve me as I have commanded you, and do not add or take away from my word. Judges chapter 17, verses 5 and 6. This man Micah had a shrine, and he made an ephod and household idols, and he installed one of his sons to be his priest. In those days there was no king in Israel, and everyone did whatever he wanted. The sin of one person can impact an entire nation. Did we not learn that already through Samson? And the Apostle Paul said in Galatians chapter 5, verse 9, "A little leaven spoils the whole lump." Jesus said in Matthew 16, verse 6, "Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Herod." That is to say, we must beware of being unnecessarily legalistic like the Pharisees, or worldly and liberal like the Herod. Now, the woman of Ephraim's lack of knowledge of how to worship the Lord was now transferred to her son. And then we see how he transferred his idolatry to his own son. And then a traveling young Levite priest looking for people to minister is sucked into their idolatry. Judges chapter 17, verse 7. And he answered him. He says, "I am a Levite from Bethlehem in Judah, and I'm going to settle wherever I can find a place." Micah replied, "Well, stay with me and be my father and my priest." And finally, scouts from the tribe of Dan come to the home of Micah the Ephraimite, and they both steal his Levite and they steal his idols. Judges chapter 18, verses 30 and 31. The people of Dan set up the carved image for themselves. Jonathan, the son of Gershom, the son of Manasseh, and his sons were priests for the Danite tribe until the time of the exile of the land. They didn't stop their idolatry until the very end. And so they set up themselves Micah's carved image that he made, and it was there as long as the house of Israel was in Shiloh. So what is our takeaway? Well, we should only seek God's word to know him. We don't have to seek him through worldly ways. You don't have to say, "Well, Jesus said a lot of good stuff, but you know what? Gandhi said a lot of really good stuff," or, Muhammad said something that was really good. No. Just seek God's word in order to know him. And we should rest within his grace and his mercy and his requirements and in his love. You see, whenever we stray from the truth of the Bible, our lives always trend downward, and it leads us down a path of destruction. I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. And we read the Bible every day so that we can know it, live according to it, and share it with other people. Groundworks Ministries operates entirely through the financial donations from faithful people like you. So if you're being ministered to through the Bible teaching of Groundworks Ministries, and you'd like to help us reach this generation with the gospel, would you consider donating to Groundworks Ministries today? Donating is secure and it's easy at our website. Check us out at groundworksministries.com.